Okay, time to figure out why she's afraid.
Where'd you move here from, dumb?
God, gotta turn around like motherfucking son at the gas station.
Life is Strange True Colors is the latest game in the Dear God, just play Night in the Woods instead genre. You see, I made this joke in the last video I made, so you know where this is going. This is the third and final game in the Life is Strange series, at least until the next one comes out, inevitably. So first, a quick history of the Life is Strange series so far. You have the first game, developed by Don't Nod, and a game that I think is overrated dog shit. A game full of awful contrivances and the worst dialogue ever, at least at the time. I think Clone High got it beat. It was then followed up by Life is Strange Before the Storm, a game starring the worst video game character ever made, Chloe Price. That game was made by Deck 9 and was somehow kinda even more dog shit. Even if you liked Chloe Price, the prequel adds nothing to her character and is, at its very best, more of the same shit content. Don't Nod then came back for Life is Strange 2, a game that is actually almost pretty good. That is, until it nosedives after Chapter 2, with side plots that go nowhere and pretty mishandled politics. Well, turns out after this, Don't Nod fucked off to make their own shit, including a game called Tell Me Why, which I got for free 1 month. Maybe one day I'll talk about it, who knows? However, with Don't Nod now fucked off, it's now time for the Before the Storm guys, Deck 9, to return and give Square Enix that easy Life is Strange money. Oh, also around this time they released the Life is Strange remasters, which, yeah. Like I said, easy money. But can the same be said of True Colors, or is it actually good? So let's talk about it, I guess. And let's start with my thoughts. Drum roll, please. My thoughts on True Colors are, it's actually really boring. I think overall it's kinda better than the first game. It's not egregiously awful. The best way I can describe it is like if Goodbye Volcano High tried to actually be good, and it tried ripping off Night in the Woods. But of course, because it's also a Life is Strange game, it's also written not very well. A lot of my points for this game are very similar to the ones I made for Goodbye Volcano High. Thankfully, though, they're not nearly as bad. However, sadly, they're still, in the game. So first off, what's this game about? Well, it's about Alex Chen, a girl who moves to Colorado to reunite with her brother Gabe. However, Gabe then dies. So when convenient, the game turns into Deus Ex, and Alex and her friends have to take down Typhon, a giant mining company. Also, Alex has emotion powers, where she can read and even control people's emotions when the plot calls for it. It really only happens at convenient times, and it's also just really lame. We go from time travel to telekinesis to fucking emotion power. You play as an empath. Wow, riveting. It feels like they put in this power because it's a Life is Strange game and they had to, rather than actually wanting to include a power. You could tell almost the exact same story without the power and it wouldn't be a whole lot different. I will say though, it is a very pretty looking game. They seem to have finally nailed the gap between art style and visual fidelity. And this is the first Life is Strange game where faces actually move like faces. Faces scrunch up and wrinkle. The characters emote and look sad and happy and whatnot. And the environments look really nice too. You can tell Square Enix gave them a nice bigger budget for this one. There are some parts that are made to just, you know, flex the graphical fidelity, and you're like, okay, bro, it's not that serious, my man. Sadly, the game is still extremely boring. It has a very similar pacing problem to Goodbye Volcano High, where big eventful plot points take forever to get to, with a lot of time being spent meandering around, while ironically, actually interesting plot events are way too short, and end up just feeling really rushed overall. And thankfully, here's the good news, it's not nearly as bad as Goodbye Volcano High. The slower scenes do allow for some world building. Unlike Goodbye Volcano High, I feel like there is a world outside of my peripheral friend group, but again, the game still lacks that forward-moving momentum. A lot of time is spent just dicking around and walking around. It still hasn't learned that Night in the Woods balance of being both a cozy yet forward-moving. As a result, the story is both meandering and rushed at the same time. It's too boring boring to really get invested into anything. And yet, if you somehow do get invested, it's over with a goddamn whimper. Oh, and of course, what's a shitty indie adventure game without a shitty fake RPG segment? That, by the way, lasts way too long. At least this one only lasts one scene, though. It has a really crazy final boss ending. Take that, Goodbye Volcano High. Suck my cock. However, I will admit it is refreshing playing as a young adult this time. There are too many games in this kind of pseudo-genre where I play as a fucking high schooler. Either that or some disgruntled middle-aged man. We don't get too many games about young adults. We have True Colors and, Night in the Woods. At this point, man, I'll take what I can get. This game also feels like it rips off the structure of Life is Strange. You're a relatively shy main character. There's a love interest girl who's into music. There's a male love interest you can also fuck. Most of the last chapter is a shitty dream sequence.
Is that what I look like? Really?
You have a plot twist where an older character is revealed to be the bad guy. Now here's the good news. Overall, I found a lot of this stuff to be better than the original game. For one thing, the plot twist with the character of Jed in this game actually caught me off guard a little bit. It's not the greatest plot twist or anything, but they kind of build him up as a semi-father figure. So when he tries to kill Alex and it's revealed that he killed her father, all of it during a mining accident, which he's hiding because he's guilty over it, it kind of made me go, oh shit, they were kind of subtle about this.
Why are you sad?
Why did I jump?
12 years ago.
Did anybody else jump?
However, first of all, it's the exact same thing they did with Mr. Jefferson, only he's no longer the fucking Joker. And secondly, the twist itself feels very rushed, because right after this, all that really happens is Alex uses her powers to make him cry.
Jed Lucan isn't a hero. That whole story is a lie. And when I found out, as you can see, he tried to kill me too.
These accusations are, well, they're insane.
My brother in Christ, she's bleeding. Press some goddamn charges. And then fade to black, and now the radio says he's arrested. And that's where the game ends. Come on, that's so anticlimactic. That's so lame.
Give me that chip.
Fuck you.
Anyways, for another thing, I think the side characters on paper are better. Steph is way less of a dickhead than Chloe Price, and Ryan is way less creepy than Warren. That's good. However, the characters have one fundamental problem. They're boring. Again, it's almost a Goodbye Volcano High problem, where Life is Strange the original had vehemently unlikable characters. Now in this game, they're trying to correct that, but then they overcorrect. And what you get are characters that the writers really want you to like, but aren't developed at all, and are just kind of boring personality-wise. There is a bit more going on with them, thankfully. They do communicate, at least. Characters do share grief over the death of Alex's brother, Gabe. They express hopes and dreams and whatnot. There's more going on with them, but it's still not enough for me to really care about these characters.
Cool.
And again, back to my main point, the overall plot is the same as the first game, roughly. So as a result, you get a pretty derivative experience with a bunch of forgettable stuff in it. Thankfully, it's not a Goodbye Volcano High, and it isn't egregious with it. But True Colors is, at its heart, underwhelming. Severely underwhelming. It's a pretty unsatisfying, unremarkable experience. It's impossible to hate, but also impossible to truly love. As a result, talking about this game and making this video is actually way harder than I thought. Like, what more is there to say that I haven't already said? And what is there to say, period? There's nothing really eventful or outstanding in this game. The dialogue is whatever. There's a couple of cringy lines here and there, but overall, I didn't want to hang myself, which for this game is a massive step up. This is probably the best dialogue in a Life is Strange game, which of course, by these game standards, means slightly above tolerable.
I think Gabe's gotten so emo that he doesn't like instruments anymore.
Like I said, slightly above tolerable. Oh yeah, there's also the main character herself, Alex Chen, a character who makes great strides in the Life is Strange game franchise. Normally these games are very hard to sit through, but in True Colors, the main character made me hard instead. I found her very attractive, and yes, I would have sex with her. And you can really only get that kind of analysis from this YouTube channel. Subscribe, by the way. And of course, I am an ally of the queer community, and as such, I found it my duty to give you guys the lesbian route in this game, because we are pro diverse. Sadly, outside of that, she's a pretty boring character. It's implied she has emotional issues. However, she doesn't actually have them in the story at all. There is literally like one instance where it happens, and that's it. She was seeing a therapist at one point, but she has no actual like mental illnesses or flaws or anything. And for a large part of the rest of the story, it goes unexplored. Blah blah blah. Night in the Woods did it better. better, you get the idea. So outside of being a player insert, she's not really that investing, which is weird because they build up her past as being some kind of mystery, but she really isn't that mysterious of a character. And furthermore, the plot is that she was an orphan her whole life. So by the end, I'm staring at the game going, what's the point? Why did you build this up? It didn't need to be built up. In fact, I might have connected to Alex easier if the game just told me she was an orphan from the beginning. So then I know her whole motives and backstory firsthand. There's a reason why, for example, in The Last of Us, the first thing you see is Sarah dying, because that in turn drives the narrative forward. It haunts the whole game, and I wish True Colors did that too. I guess the game also tries tackling loss overall in the game, especially with how open-ended the ending kind of is, with Gabe's ghost being there or whatever. But again, the game sets it up wrong. I'm not given much of a reason to care about these people at all, aside from their siblings. Again, I would have done something like The Last of Us or Firewatch, where you know from the get-go why the characters are the way they are. It would have led to a more personal, intimate story, you know? Oh, that reminds me, the ending. Sadly, this is yet another choice-driven game where the ending sucks. Basically, the endings are, do you stay or leave your little town that you've been spending the entire game in with whoever the fuck you decided to romance in the game? Which, by the way, you don't actually see the results. You just kind of talk to your dead brother, imagine one of the results, and then choose which one you want. Your overall choices don't actually really matter in the game at all. And that's so disappointing, dude. After Life is Strange 2, which was actually an improvement, not perfect, but better, it really sucks that True Colors is a downgrade. An underwhelming downgrade that just kind of ends. I think I'm getting real tired of games that claim to have these multiple choices that matter, but they end up just being completely fake illusions. Look, I get that it's hard to make these kinds of games and have that kind of forethought, but I don't think it's too much to ask for the game to not lie to me. Why do we even have these Your Choices Matter screens anymore? They pretty much just set the game up to fail. Is this the Life is Strange staple or something? Text on a black screen that really only exists to give you the first playthrough illusion and ruin any other subsequent playthrough? I guess I do kind of appreciate how the game is more open-ended, tying in with the theme of grieving over your dead brother. But again, the whole final part of the game is so rushed overall. It kind of just has you sitting there going, that's it? It's less satisfying or artsy or cathartic or anything. And kind of just more, whatever. And that's how I can best describe this game. It's, whatever. It's not awful or terrible, but I wouldn't even call it good or even okay. It's just mediocre. I found the game to be very boring overall, with massive pacing problems that make the game both slow-paced and rushed, a story that feels overall largely the same as anything else, and characters that just don't stick out to me at all. The one interesting part is the DMCA music option in the game, where you can mute the licensed music for, you know, streaming the game. They didn't replace the music at all, so you just get these awkward silent scenes just out of nowhere. Aw, yes, nothing like ruining the experience for people that want to stream the game in front of an audience, who really don't want to risk their revenue being taken away by playing a copyrighted song on Twitch.tv. What else happened? My game crashed once. That's interesting. There's also one other part where Alex sings Creep by Radiohead, and that made me laugh. And that's kind of about it. I genuinely wish I had more to say in this video, but I really don't. It's just kind of boring, but not in like an offensive way like Goodbye Volcano High was. It's not terrible, but it really isn't interesting. Apparently not even Life is Strange fans really enjoy this one. It's just kind of mediocre, and nothing short of very boring. I'm not even kidding here. If I had anything else to say, this video would be way longer. This game is like a light 5 at absolute best, and will fade from my memories by the time this video goes up. Oh well, better than Goodbye Volcano High at least. At least I got to jack off to the main character.
Fuck you in the lanes you came with. Me and you ain't on the same shit. You ain't in my lane, bitch, nah. All that shit in fifth, rollie on my wrist. Ay, baby, you a star, I'm my only wish. I'm counting blue honeys, I'm too money. Ay, and my little bitch, she too lovely. Yeah, hanging up and calling me right back. Ay, baby, why you calling me like that? Yeah, getting high with the seat, lay back. Baby, gon' relax, yeah. Hey, they don't know the half, yeah. No matter what happened, I got your back. Baby, that's the facts, yeah. That's the facts, yeah. We can fight, but the feeling's gone. I try to find the words, but they never come. I can still see you on the lawn. Hey, laying outside in the summer sun. Yeah, we can fight, but the feeling's gone. I try to find the words, but they never come. I can still see you on the lawn. Hey, laying outside in the summer sun. Hey, I'm with a dark-skinned girl on a Sunday. That's that Black Sabbath. facts, yeah.
Bro, why is it always a fucking problem when I'm ordering this fucking order, bro? This specific fucking order that I'll be ordering, caramel McFlurry, caramel with the Oreos. That's what I'll be ordering. I always have a fucking problem with this shit. I'm sitting there asking this woman, the manager, hey, look, I want 2 caramel McFlurries with Oreos. Put caramel at the bottom and caramel on side the cup. Fucking give me an extra cup of caramel and give me a cup of Oreos. I will pay extra for it. She talking about that's against guidelines. We can't do that. Like, bitch, I just did it the other day. What are you talking, bro? And then I'm trying to be nice as fuck to the bitch. I'm like, hey, before I said I want the cup of caramel shit, I said, hey, did you make the caramel McFlurry? She said, yeah. I said, thank you. Like, thank you for doing it right, because I'm always having problems with it. Then I'm thinking we good. She come back to the window. I say, hey, I'm missing my cup of caramel and a cup of Oreos. She talking about, oh, we can't do that. We'll get charged for doing that. Like, bitch, you gonna go to jail for fucking giving me a cup of caramel? Like, what are you talking about, man?